8 years. That's how long the previous generation Audi A6 has been on sale. And during this time, the German car maker has brought in a midlife facelift and some special edition models. But there's no denying that over the past few years, it has started to feel a little long in the tooth. And that has become rather evident since after the launch of the new BMW 5 Series and the Mercedes-Benz E-Class in 2017. Now, Audi has finally brought in the all-new A6.
When the only weapon is your name, and they won't count if you don't aim. Good intentions hold us back.
Does it have enough to push ahead of its competition? Let's find out.
Take your soul, let it grow without a show. Make the goal and run.
One look at the new A6 is enough for you to notice that Audi has taken a more evolutionary instead of a revolutionary approach towards designing it. That being said, the typically clean German design cues certainly do look elegant. The A6 now gets a larger grille, which, unlike the new BMWs, seamlessly fit into the overall design. From the front bumper and the bonnet to the rear bumper and the tail section, the sharp creases are a lot more prominent now. The A6's alloy wheel design echoes that of the all-electric e-tron, and I simply love it. The head and tail lights are both LED units and have also become sharper than before. Overall, the A6 isn't quite as striking as perhaps Audi was going for, but it's certainly quite pleasing to look at.
From the outside, Audi may not have done much to the overall design, but inside they have definitely put on a new complexion. The new dashboard design really gives the Audi's interiors an air of snazziness. There are multiple layers and different materials used, which makes it look fresh and distinctive. I just love how this gloss black panel above the glove box blends into the central touchscreen unit. There's another touchscreen for the automatic climate control. While this gives the dashboard a very uncluttered layout, I still prefer the use of traditional knobs. There is a third screen right behind the steering wheel. This is the Audi Virtual Cockpit. Now this screen is absolutely utilitarian. It gives you all the information you need right in front of your eyes.
The new A6 has grown marginally in size, something that you'd barely notice. You'd have to look at the spec sheet to be made aware of this fact. While the length has increased by 7 mm, wheelbase is up by 12 mm. Unlike the E-Class, the A6 launched here in India isn't a long wheelbase version.
Audi has only brought in the A6 to India with the 45 TFSI badge. Now this one comes with a 2-litre petrol motor that makes 241 bhp and 370 Nm. That's marginally less power than what the 5 Series makes, but more than what the E-Class and the XF produce. As far as the nature of the engine is concerned, the engine feels absolutely refined and quiet inside the cabin. Whether you're driving in the city or cruising at high speeds on the highway, there's barely any noise heard inside the cabin. It's only when you push the car to its limits that you feel a mile per coming inside. In terms of outright acceleration, the A6 isn't quite the quickest out there, but it isn't slow by any means. In fact, the acceleration is more progressive than eager. A lot of it has to do with the 7-speed S-tronic transmission that feels a little slow to respond to inputs. Like all the other Audis, this one also gets 5 driving modes. Although it doesn't have air suspension, these driving modes alter the nature of the steering wheel and the engine. While the steering weighs up nicely as you switch between modes, the nature of the engine doesn't quite change by that much.
Unlike the previous model, which was fitted with air suspension as standard, this new A6 sits on steel springs. a move that has been made to keep costs in check. But to give credit where credit's due, despite the downgrade in terms of hardware, the A6 flattens out the worst of roads incredibly well. Of course, the 255x55 section tires play a huge role in cushioning most of the bumps. The A6 is even high enough to ensure that you don't have to cringe every time you go over a large pothole. On the twisty roads, however, the Audi leaves you wanting for more. For an engine that packs a decent punch, it feels out of its comfort zone when pushed hard. The steering is light and quick, which is great for urban driving conditions, but around corners, it just doesn't feel communicative enough.
While Audi has brought in the A6 to India recently, it has been more than a year and a half since its global unveiling, but that doesn't take away much from the product that it is. The A6 is impressive enough in the style, refinement and the technology departments for you to sit up and take notice. The A6 has enough tricks up its sleeve to give competition something to worry about. That being said, all that the Audi gains in these departments is somewhat lost in the overall drive experience. While it doesn't quite set a foot wrong, it feels extremely clinical in the way it drives. So if you want something a little more emotive or involving to drive, you will have to look at one of its competitors.